Welcome to this week's episode, everyone. This week we talk about where Drew Brees ranks in the top quarterbacks, the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks, if you will. Is he on it? Is he not? I'm not sure. You're going to have to check it out. We also break down the most recent MLB Hot Stove, Corey Kluber, Madison Bumgarner, all that good stuff. And we talk about an SI picture that one of the 2K crew members shared in the Facebook group. So check that out and buckle up because it's going to be a great episode. 2K crew, what is up? We are on episode number 46. Welcome and hello. Hello and welcome. Hello on YouTube land. How's everybody doing? 2Ks, how you doing today, brother?
Good.
Doing good?
Yeah.
The weather's nice, unless you're a snowboarder, ice fisherman, or anything like that. But I am neither. I am not a fan of the winter. I mean, granted, it is nice to have snow on Christmas, but other than that, I hate driving in it. I hate being cold. I hate being wet. So I am a horrible Michigander.
I hate waking up in it.
Yeah.
You know, like during the summertime when it's hot outside, warm outside, it's not that bad to get up and go out into that, but I don't want to get out of that warm bed and go out in the cold.
Yeah, and
that's
trust me, it only gets worse with age. You know, once your joints start creaking and popping, and you know you make more noise getting out of bed than your kid's cereal in the morning. So yeah, and then just add cold to that. Not any good. Not any good. Not any good at all. But before we jump into things, I just want to say you found us. You might as well subscribe to us. So anywhere that you get your podcast, search Turbo and 2Ks. Hell, you can even ask Siri. You can ask Alexa. Now, I did want to clarify one thing to everybody, YouTube land, podcast land. To get Siri to activate or find our podcast, you have to have the podcast app downloaded, the iTunes podcast app. If you have that, then it'll automatically, you just have to, hey Siri, play the Turbo and 2Ks podcast. There she goes. And a matter of fact,
okay, the Turbo and 2Ks show podcast coming up.
See? I'm not fucking lying. I don't make this shit up. I don't. Now, the main difference between her, I won't say her name again, and Alexa, is with Alexa, they already have their own app built into the whole program there, so you don't have to have a separate one. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. And for the YouTube land, subscribe, hit the button, hit the bell, leave us a comment, because we always like to see what the hell's going on. And if you have any suggestions for the show, please let us know. We're always open. We're always open. So now that we got that out of the way, yeah, it's we had, if you were watching the Saints game, that was on Monday night, wasn't it?
Yep.
And Mr. Brees has quite the track record of doing special things on Monday Night Football. I know I should have wrote down exactly the feats that he has accomplished in the past, but he did become the all-time passing touchdowns leader this Monday. So partner that with, I think it was last season or season before, he passed the all-time passing yards record, and he still holds the career passing percentage. So with all that being said, I'm sure every other show has done this, but I wanted to give you our Turbo and 2Ks spin on it. Just with all these, great accomplishments, where in our eyes do we see Drew Brees sitting? Is he on the quarterback Mount Rushmore? Is he just shy of that? Where do we put him? And 2Ks, what I'm going to ask is, give me your top five quarterbacks, and start with 5 and tell me why he's there, and then work your way up to number 1.
Man, so my top 3 are actually pretty easy. My 4, 5, 6, somebody's going to get left off this that, in a lot of people's opinion, probably should be on there. But at number 5...
No, I think if it was left up to the 2K crew, Michael Jordan would be
yeah, no doubt,
one of the top 5 quarterbacks of all
time.
He
can probably out quarterback all these guys. I mean, yeah, for sure.
He's the GOAT. What do you
according
expect?
to what all of our listeners. And he also can play better defense than all these guys too. And yeah, I mean we heard it all. But number 5 on my all-time quarterback list, I have Brett Favre.
Okay, the gunslinger.
And that's, I mean, for me, that was what I loved about him was he wasn't scared of shit.
No, he had zero fucks.
He as far as all these guys on the list, probably just straight arm strength. He was number one on the list here, especially of the guys I have in my top 5. But he could fit balls into windows that not very many guys could do.
Right.
Now, that being said, he had a tendency of throwing the ball around a little bit too much at times, and sometimes it would be ugly. But most times, he could just put the team on his back and carry a team to a Super Bowl. So I have him at number 5 on my list. Number 4, that's where I have Brees right now. Now that, to me, he can, depending on what happens, he still has the rest of this year. They have a legitimate shot at winning a Super Bowl right now. I don't think he's going to be done after this year. I think a lot of people are saying that he's going to retire, and I don't think so. I guess maybe if they won the Super Bowl, maybe there would be a shot that he would go out on top.
Up until the injury and Lamar Jackson being a freak fucking athlete, he was my pick for the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
And had neither one of those two happened, he's right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, he missed 6 games with the thumb. And then Jackson just has taken the league by fucking storm. Yep. I mean, there's no doubt in anyone's mind. Even if he gets, knock on wood, even if he gets hurt right now, he's still the MVP.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, as far as Brees goes, yeah, I mean, and you could say the same thing with Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
If not for Jackson blowing up, I mean, Russell Wilson, in my opinion, would be the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
But continue on your list, sir. I didn't want to interrupt.
So I have Brees at 4. Yeah, the numbers don't lie. I mean, if it wasn't for my 3 next guys, he could definitely be. It'd be pretty easy to put him higher up on this list, but his career's not over yet.
Right.
Like I said, there's a good chance he could jump up to 3 on my list, possibly 2.
Mm-hmm.
But so I have him at 4. 3, I have Joe Montana. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of Montana, so I go by just strictly looking at numbers. He also had a guy by the name of Jerry Rice. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him.
That does help, and that was Joe Montana, Jerry Rice is what first enamored me when it came to football. I remember so many games, the NFL, the big huge games. It was either the Cowboys are winning it or the 49ers are winning it. And they'd go back and forth. And either that or the Niners would rip off 3 or 4 in a row, and then, the Cowboys would jump in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what him and Jerry Rice and Roger Craig and that whole crew is what actually got me in love with football. Now, the reason I'm not a Niners or Cowboys fan is that we got to watch the Bears play more because we're closer to Chicago. Especially growing up, we got all Indiana locals, so that's what I watched.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason behind my Bear fandom. But to actually get into football, watching Joe Montana was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then and I didn't really realize at the time how great Jerry Rice was. Of course, I was young. And you always gravitate towards the quarterback. He's the one that touches the ball all the time. He's the one that throws the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I got older and realized, the longevity of Rice's career, and then to rewatch some of his games and just the route running, the precision, how freakishly fit he was, and caught all those balls without gloves, like the gloves they have today.
Yeah.
If he's come out and said, he's like, these things should be illegal. If you can't catch with your hands, you shouldn't be a receiver. So, but yeah, that's it. I tend to forget our age difference and how you just like you said earlier, Barry Sanders, Michael Jordan, you never really got to watch them play. And most of Montana's career was a little bit before that, like the great part of his career. And then of course he leaves to go to Kansas City, and that's kind of his last hurrah. But yeah, it was that was what got me into football. That's one of the reasons why Montana always has been. I've had very big fandom of Montana because of that. So
Number 2 on my list, Peyton Manning. Kind of a lot of the things that you just mentioned. Peyton Manning's the quarterback that I watched growing up, and the game manager that he is, and watching him, at the line, and checking out of plays and checking into plays, and
Omahaing.
Omaha, and it's just, but like it's almost like every single time they broke the huddle, he knew exactly what defense they were going to, the opposing team was going to be in. He knew where the open spot of, where to, the weak spots in the zone, as far as just the talent. I mean, he didn't have a whole lot. I mean, it's not like he could sling a ball like Favre, and it's not like he had the arm strength to throw deep balls, but he was the smartest guy on the field.
Yeah, and that hands down, I'm pretty sure the only easier job of being Peyton Manning's offensive coordinator would be his fucking backup. Those two would be the easiest jobs in the whole fucking NFL. Brett Favre too. If you're Brett Favre's backup, you knew you weren't playing.
Oh hell no.
But yeah, the offensive coordinator, I can't, especially at the Colts, his name didn't. I'm trying to grasp his name here, and I can see his face. But that had to be either the most complex thing because you work with a perfectionist that wants to know everything, or you just embrace it, let him do it, and just sit back and be guidance.
Yep.
But there's been a lot of folks saying, "Oh, well, Peyton should come back and coach." Peyton, I don't, as a perfectionist that he is, I don't think he would make a great coach. It's it'd have to be done his way. And there's only one person that can do his way, and that's him. So, but yeah, I was a huge Peyton Manning fan. I was never really a Colts fan per se. But when it comes to great players, I mean, you have to be a fan.
Yeah. Not
just a Colts fan or a Bears fan. You have to be a football fan. And just appreciate greatness when it's there, because those are the players that you'll be telling your kids about. Oh yeah, I watched Peyton Manning, and they'll be like, "Oh no, you're that old, Dad? Fuck you!" But yeah, I am. But that's just one of the cool things about being a fan. And being fanatic for one team is fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but when you embrace the whole sport, I think you get more out of it.
Yep. And so the number 1 on my list, I think everybody already knows it. I mean, if he's not number 1 on everybody's list, have you ever watched football?
Do you even football?
Tom Brady. I mean, the rings speak for themselves. He also has the numbers. It might not be the eye-popping numbers like a Drew Brees or even like Peyton Manning, but
him and Brees, as far as the career passing touchdowns, are very close.
Yeah.
A lot of folks say they're going to be going back and forth until one of them hangs it up.
Yep.
Or if they both decide to hang it up at the same time. But they're two different offenses. They always have been.
Yep.
And even with the addition of Kamara, and even last year when they had Ingram and they had more of a ground attack, Brees was still throwing. This year he's had to do it even more because of injuries to Kamara, and Latavius Murray's been there, and he's been on my bench for fantasy for the whole year because I never know when he's gonna. He'll have 5 points one week and 40 the next week.
Yeah, and with Brees beats you more, with big passes to where, I think Brady is so frustrating because he nickel and dimes you all the way down the field.
Yeah.
And by the time they score on you, I think defenses are just tired. And at the same time, Brady can throw up points. If he needs to, he can throw them up fast also. But he just has the scheme that they play, and the way that for years and years with Gronk and even going back to Welker. And it was just Welker moves on and they bring in Julian Edelman, and he's the same. Same thing,
or better.
Probably better.
Yeah.
But the thing the thing I love the most about Brady is any time on the clock is too much time. You score, you kick a field goal to go ahead, and there's any time on the clock, you're probably going to lose.
You're always expecting Brady to at least take it down the field and tie it.
Yep.
Or, hit that receiver in the back of the end zone for the go-ahead.
And it seems like with him, just for his entire career, the biggest moments are where he plays his best football. A lot of guys seem to disappear, in those big moments to where he plays his best football at that time. And whether you like him or not, I know there's a lot of people that hate the Patriots. Hell, I hate the Patriots. But it's hard. You can't be a football fan and not respect what what we've been watching for the last 20 years with him. And I know a lot of people also want to say, well, he wouldn't be able to do it without Belichick. Yeah, you're probably right. Belichick wouldn't be able to do what he was doing without Brady.
Yeah, but I think Brady's talent, if you put him on any other team, probably just as good.
Mm. You look at that's the one thing with all these quarterbacks is they all had great coaches.
Yes.
Peyton Manning had Dungy for years. Would Manning would he have been able to do all that without Dungy? Probably not. You look at Drew Brees. Drew Brees without Sean Payton?
Yes. Everything, you look at it and there's very few like Super Bowl contending teams that don't have that coach quarterback pairing. You could say that, the Ravens went through, years ago, they were more defense than anything else. They didn't have that, Trent Dilfer was not the quarterback that you were, hitching to that head coach. Even, but yeah, there's teams that do short little things like that, and we're seeing some new ones, some new pairings. Harbaugh again with Jackson, Philadelphia. I think you could say that, and the one that shocks me, which I know we're getting kind of way off course here, but looking in Indianapolis, I thought that would be a better pairing. Granted, Jacoby Brissett's had some injuries that I don't think even in Andrew Luck, the team's way better than it was last year. And I thought Brissett would be a better fit. Well, like I said, maybe it's because of the injuries, but I think Frank Wright's the right guy to be there. But yeah, you're right. There's always a quarterback hitched to a great head coach.
Yeah, the quarterbacks are the ones that get all the credit, and I think really the only time that you ever really hear about coaches are when they're on the hot seat. With Belichick, you always hear about him because he always wins, but the coaches don't get enough credit. And
right.
You look at this going to what's happening this season. Yeah, Lamar Jackson's going to win the MVP. In my opinion, if Harbaugh doesn't win Coach of the Year, that would be a travesty. That would be worse than Jackson not winning the MVP to me, because what Harbaugh has done there, a lot of times when you go in the draft and you listen to, throw out Todd McShay, and they start talking about where these guys are going to be drafted at, and they're talking about does this quarterback fit this scheme of what what this team runs and all that. No, Harbaugh went with a quarterback, and he drafted and signed free agents that fit around his quarterback. It wasn't buying a quarterback that's going to fit his style. No. He had Joe Flacco for how many years? Lamar Jackson's the furthest thing there is from Joe Flacco.
Yeah, you have a statue in Joe Flacco and, a cheetah.
Yeah.
In Lamar Jackson. Two very, very different players.
The Ravens made their decision that they moved up in the draft to get their guy in Jackson, but they also drafted what was going to help him out, what was going to work well to his strengths, and they did the same thing in free agency when they were signing players. And the way that it's watching it now, and the way that it's paying off for them, they're the favorite. They're the favorite to win the Super Bowl right now. And
getting back to your point about Coach of the Year, it took some balls to do what Harbaugh did. There's no one else in the National Football League that runs this style of offense. Everyone said that this would not work, could not work. You'd be fucking stupid. But you know what? Harbaugh, maybe it was desperation. Maybe he saw well, fuck, my job isn't going to be here much longer. Let's give it a shot. Regardless of what the conversation was, it's working. And I really haven't seen... I've seen some teams slow him down, but no one stopped him. I think the only thing that's going to stop him is injury. And I think that's obviously has to be on the back of Harbaugh's mind. It has to be. And every Ravens fan, because I'm not a Ravens fan. I like watching that team because they are a complete team. Offense, defense. They got the best kicker in the fucking world. And, you look at dudes that are having career years. Mark Ingram is a perfect fit there. All three of those tight ends, their names probably all the same, but you never know which one. They're all carbon copies of one another.
Yep.
And yeah, and their wide receiving core, not a lot of big names, but they get it done. They've drafted well, and I'm sure it's even getting further and deeper into that. You have to draft the right offensive lineman that can pull and can, basically run an option offense that a lot of them either haven't ran or haven't ran since high school, or so that's not a very conventional offense. So yeah, big shout out, because that was either this is going to work and it's going to save my career, or it's going to flop and I'm already on my way out. So might as well take a shot at it. And fuck, he's got him playing. I'm still shocked that they have 3 losses.
Yeah.
I'm still flabbergasted. But I think a lot of those came early when they hadn't, not everything was hitting on all cylinders. But the one thing that you can bank on for anything is that defense is stout. The defense, I'm pretty sure they haven't changed their philosophy at all, because they haven't needed to under Harbaugh, because that's been his focus. The Ray Lewises, the T Sizzle, Ed Reed. I mean, those are dudes that that you could build any defense around.
Oh, absolutely. They're all Hall of Famers.
Yeah. And then, they just they had a couple years where, Suggs was kind of on the outs on his career and wasn't as good, as maybe have lost a step or two. But they've reloaded. They've reloaded amazingly. All right, so you ready for my top 5?
Yep.
I have, they're close, but the Central Michigan game's on. I'm going to start off with Mr. Brees at 5. And, we already touched base on a lot of it. Kind of essentially, he's a more efficient Brett Favre. And now what's kind of unique about this list is, well, just take the folks off your list. Most of them are contemporaries. Most of them played in this pass interference era, and more, it wasn't like a Johnny Unitas or something where they ran the ball more than they threw the ball. But my number 5, Drew Brees, and you're right. And you're right in that he's not done. He could climb up this list. But yeah, he's my number 5. My number 4 is one that you didn't have on your list, but in Mr. John Elway. A lot of folks say that he only won he only won the 2 Super Bowls, but he didn't really win anything until he got a running game. But if you look at how dominant he was, and just because he was kind of he's a freak of nature when he came out of college. Big, huge arm, mobile, which he didn't get a lot of credit for, but early in his career he had to, because the Broncos sucked. And he was a couple passes away and a couple minutes away from possibly playing in 2 more Super Bowls. So he was the one that kind of laid the groundwork for a lot of these dudes. He set the precipice. He set the, he drew the line in the sand, and you're like, if you want to be an NFL quarterback, this is what you have to do. So that was number 4. Number 3, I got to go Peyton Manning, number 3. Just for all the same reasons that we talked about on your list. He just has to be there. He has to be. And you can argue that, granted, he has 2 Super Bowls, but the Broncos won it not because of him, but not in spite of him. But he wasn't the dominant Peyton that we saw in Indy by any means. But a win is a win. And, you could argue his brother really didn't do a whole lot to win his 2.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something to be said, too, about when. I mean, it is it's really special to win multiple Super Bowls for the same team. But I think it's something to be said to do it at two different teams also, because
Peyton was the first one to do that,
yes,
right?
I mean he spent basically his whole career with the Colts, but then was able to go over to the Broncos and was able to now. Was he still the same quarterback that he was with the Colts at the time? No, but he had the best defense in the NFL that season when they did win that with Denver. But to be able to jump into with a whole new team, a whole new offense, all new coaching staff, that there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, and do it in what he spent 5 years in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a long time, and especially. Like we were talking about with Peyton's way of doing things, that's a whole different system that they were trying to run. I mean, you remember when they were doing the pistol and he didn't like that, and he wanted to go under center more or be in the shotgun more or whatever the fuck it was. They were kind of at arms about this is not the way Peyton wants to do things. And then once they got everything on track, then yes, they partnered with that defense, hands down. Number 2. Joe Montana, and like we talked about, it's probably a little easier being a Mount Rushmore person with Jerry Rice, especially young Jerry Rice and Jerry Rice in his prime, even though it seemed like his prime lasted 20 years. But he was surrounded by a Hall of Fame team. He really was. And then once you could partner that with Steve Young. Took the keys to the Corvette and added his little flair to it with the same team. Same team. So I'm not trying to take anything away from Steve Young by any means, but it has a lot to do with it. And it pains me to say that, yes, number 1, TB12. Pains me to say it, but I got to respect him.
That's the thing. Whether you like him or not, you have to respect what he does. I mean, there's a lot of people out there flipping over to the NBA that they don't like LeBron. You better fucking respect him.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he's the best. He really is. And then we're probably not going to see a lot of his personal. Does he have 6 Super Bowls now?
Yeah.
18, 25 Super Bowls. It seems like. Probably no one's ever going to touch that. Probably not, because just a team has to stay together that long, and just to get to 5 of them, let alone win 5, that takes a pretty special team. Not let alone a quarterback, a team. And as dull and dry as Belichick's been, he's got a knack for. I mean, they've taken in a lot of players with a lot of bad history.
Yep.
And take Randy Moss. No one wanted Randy Moss. They thought, they didn't want to deal with this bullshit. And what did he do? What did they do? Sign him, and him and Tom Brady put together probably the best passing and receiving season ever in the history of the game. So one thing that did shock me out of both of our lists is one name that's missing, and that's Mr. Marino. Now, him not winning a Super Bowl does not have any effect on his rating for me. He would be 6th. And again, like John Elway, and they were drafted in the same draft, if I'm not mistaken, but he was another one of those guys that if you want to play quarterback in this league, this is how to do it. Then later on in his career, this is how you do it with 2 shot knees. Probably the prettiest passer out of anyone that we've talked about. Probably the most pure passer. Did it with 0 running game his entire career. And his top 2 receivers, one of them was named Mark Duper, and I can't remember the other one right offhand. So he did it with a very limited cast, is what I'm trying to say. And that's doing it that way. You can't take away, putting him up where he needs to be because, without rings. Because if you look at, I would be shocked if someone were to tell me that anyone on that defense, well, first of all, I know he didn't have a running back that made any Pro Bowls, let alone a Hall of Famer. His offensive line was shoddy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have got the shit beat out of him. His wide receivers were marginal. but I'd be shocked if there was one Hall of Famer out of Marino's entire career that played defense. Just my 2 cents. So in that regard, I don't care if you because all the records that Brees is breaking, Marino had at one point. And then Brett Favre broke them, Peyton Manning broke them, and now Brees is breaking them. So yeah, to me he's the best passer, but does that make him the best quarterback? No. Probably has one of the greatest plays, the fake spike.
Yeah.
The fake clock play, throwing touchdown. Genius. I love it. Genius. So is there any other quarterbacks you want to talk about before we move on to?
No. Going back to Marino, he was my number 6. I mean, he was the guy that I was kind of back and forth with Favre, and then I had Elway right just after him. But yeah, I guess I do hold him not having a Super Bowl. When you start talking about the elite, because that's what these guys are. These guys are elite quarterbacks, and to be in the top 5 or to be on the quarterback Mount Rushmore, I think that's important to me. I think you have to have at least one. You have to win one, and all these guys that I have on my Rushmore, they've all won one. All the guys I have in my top 5, they all won one. So
now if you put Marino in Denver,
he wins one.
Oh, at least he would probably win 3 or 4.
You put him on the Packers, he wins one.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that Miami team is horrible, horrible. They were, and that's ironic because the regime before is still the only undefeated team in NFL history. It was just a weird time, and I was always rooting for Marino to win at least one. Because he deserved it.
Yeah.
He deserved it. He was on 2 robotic-ass knees. Some of the worst isotoner glove commercials fucking ever. But yet did make an appearance on Ace Ventura, so you got to give him that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's... To me, it's kind of comparable to the old conversation that I like to have. If you put Barry Sanders on the Cowboys and Emmitt Smith with the Lions... Barry would break every fucking record and set rushing record and set all of the numbers out so far that I don't think anyone would ever catch him. And Emmitt Smith would have just been another. He would still be an above average running back, but he would not be. I don't think he'd be a Hall of Famer by any means. All right, so let's talk a little hot stove real quick here, 2Ks. Because we did our initial hot stove episode last week, and I'll be darned that I was going through and editing it, uploading it, and two more people signed. So we had Bumgarner signing with Arizona, which is kind of an odd place. I wouldn't think that they would want to bring on another contract after just getting rid of the Greinke contract. And if you're going to get rid of Greinke, I guess in my opinion, I would much rather have Greinke than Mad Bum. Granted, you're paying a lot more money for Greinke, but Greinke's younger. Madison Bumgarner is a great pitcher, but I don't want to do the Kurt Schilling analogy, because Schilling had some great years outside of postseason play. And so's Bumgarner, but it seems like most of Bumgarner's hype is either because he's hitting bombs, which most pitchers don't do, or it's the postseason runs that the Giants went on, and his hit, coming out of the bullpen and doing all the great things that he did. But I was a little shocked at the landing spot, Arizona.
Yeah, that was kind of shocking to me also. It just I was talking to my dad about it last week, and I'm like, why? But it was kind of the same thing when they signed Greinke. It was why? I mean, that's a team that's seems like they're constantly giving up. At the trade deadline, they're trading guys off and restarting and trading guys off and restarting, and then you're gonna throw out all that money for Bumgarner. I mean, I don't. I don't get it. Now, Bumgarner 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, but now I question how many more good years he has left, and he's been kind of going downhill as we go. Is he still a top of the rotation pitcher for them? Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of these contenders, I think he's maybe the third, fourth guy in a rotation.
I mean, and we kind of have to take into account too. The last couple seasons have been injury plagued.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that is something to do with age,
Yeah.
wear and tear. However, I think one of the injuries, he was jumping a dirt bike or some stupid shit.
Well, the thing that pisses me off about him, he's always the guy that is so worried about somebody showing him up.
Yeah.
That's what pisses me off about him. And I don't think I'll ever be able to like him because somebody hits a home run and they flip their bat or something and he just loses his mind. And it's like, well, don't put the ball right there then.
I think we'll have to check in to see. I'm pretty sure the Diamondbacks do play the Nats to get the power the power take against Mad Bum. I have a feeling if that's the case, Mr. Soto's gonna be wearing one between the shoulder blades. But yeah, I was.
Well, he had an ongoing battle with Puig for 5-6 seasons in a row there, where he was pissed off when Puig hit a fucking ground ball. It was like Puig hits a ground ball back to him or something, and he doesn't run the bases out, and he was pissed off about it. Like, who the fuck are you to say anything about
Right.
how fast the opposing team runs down the line? Like,
it's gonna be an out. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? But no, yeah, I was expecting, I don't know, maybe the Yankees to make a run.
I thought
the Angels.
Angels are a team that, we talked about it last week. I love the signing of Rendon, but they need to get a pitcher.
While I talk about the next one, look to see. I'm pretty sure they signed a pitcher. I'm pretty sure I saw it now that you mentioned that. But yeah, so I guess maybe I was expecting Bumgarner to sign with more of a contender, because of his age, because of everything. That just to me that was just a weird fucking fit.
Oh, they did sign Terrain.
That's what I thought, to a 1-year deal.
Yep. Which that could be potentially.
Julio Teheran. Yeah. He was. He's been with the Braves forever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been the Braves ace forever, and now you have all these young studs coming up that there just isn't room for him anymore. So yeah, that could be a sneaky good signing.
Yep.
Even though it's not the $300 million signing, that could be a sneaky good signing if Mr. Terrain can stay.
Another one too, if he can stay healthy.
Yep.
That's been the big thing with him.
And they didn't sign him to a huge contract to be like an ace. He's a serviceable.
Yep.
Hell, you could run him out of the bullpen if you need to, especially for that price. And another one that we basically foreshadowed this was the Corey Kluber trade. No, that was to Texas, correct?
Yep.
The Rangers?
Yep.
Another odd team.
Another one that didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me.
No, and I know that. Is it this season that their new stadium's open, or is it next season in Texas? Might be next season.
Next season, yeah.
So for all you Ranger fans, I'm sure you'll be stoked as shit to be watching games in an air-conditioned joint and not having to burn in the 110 Texas sun. But yeah, another, but maybe yet again, this is getting back to what we were talking about last week with the Indians not wanting to pay people. Granted, Kluber went through a rather injury-plagued year.
Well, I think for Cleveland, I think this kind of sets I think that they're going to sign Lindor now, to where I think they cleared up the space and they're saying we're going to sign Lindor to his contract, and we're going to, because let's just be honest, is Kluber is he going to put fans in the stands like Lindor can? No. Is he going to sell jerseys like Lindor is? No, he just doesn't have that he's not that high personality guy that Lindor is. Right? You want to build your organization around a guy like Francisco Lindor, and he's going to be the guy that adds the excitement and puts the fans in the stands and sells the jerseys. And I think by them moving on from Kluber, they're clearing up the cap space to to sign Lindor and then build around that.
I hope so, because getting back to your point last week too is, you're hopefully if you're if your prediction comes true here, you're paying someone top dollar to play every game instead of once every 5. So it's easier for if you're an Indian fan, if you want to go see Lindor, you don't have to worry about which game do I need to go see where it falls in the rotation, and I hope something doesn't happen because I really want to see him play, like it would be for a pitcher. But yeah, I was maybe it gets back to, again, last week we talked about how the great teams and how they're separating from the rest of the pack is they're valuing their farm team a lot more, and we see it week in and day in and day out during the baseball season. All these players are getting younger, they're getting faster, they're coming up at a young age and performing right out the gate. There is no there's almost no adjustments that need to be made. I mean, granted, they're so good that with the help of a little bit of help from a veteran player, they're just taking off. They're just taking off. So I didn't see who the Indians got in return. I'm assuming they're just prospects. Then speaking of the Rangers, Darcy posted on the Facebook group that Mr. Ian Kinsler is retiring. And I did not know, but he's 1 hit shy of 2,000 and he's retiring. That would irritate the shit out of me. I'd go sign a 1-day contract with someone and then retire. Give me that knock. Give me that round number. Now, had it been $29.99, I have a very good feeling Mr. Kinsler would come back next year and try to get into uniform wherever he can to get that knock to 3,000. Don't tell me he wouldn't. But yeah, so that's just a couple more. There's still a lot more faces that need to be put in places, but we'll keep you up to date on that and give you our opinions. Why? Because that's what we do. So I want to give a big shout out to Mr. Christian Hudson.
Oh, why?
Because he actually did something good. He actually posted something in the group that was kind of thoughtful. Granted, all he did was share a picture, but wasn't dumb. This actually had some weight to it, and I'm proud of him. So I'm gonna get it. Doesn't happen all the time. So MLB.com put out the best of decade, and I'm reading best of decade by position. Now I'm assuming this is 2010 to 2020, and they broke it down. And in 2Ks, I'm going to read these off to you, and we'll put our 2 cents in to see, because there was a lot of discussion about one pick on here in particular. But to start off, the best of decade position, again, thank you MLB.com for the picture and the idea. Buster Posey is your catcher. Miggy is your first baseman. Altuve at second. Lindor at third. Adrian Beltre at third. Trout in the outfield. Mookie Betts in the outfield. McCutchen in the outfield. DH is Nelson Cruz. Starting pitchers, JV, Scherzer, Kershaw, Greinke, Chris Sale. And relief pitchers, granted they didn't go too far in depth like bullpen, but they took the best closers, is Chapman and Kimbrel. Now, the one position that Christian brought up and that actually drew a lot of attention was the catcher portion. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying Buster Posey is a bad player by any means. He has 3 rings? When the Giants did their even, if it's an even year, the Giants are winning. Mm-hmm. Batting titles, Rookie of the Year, if I'm not mistaken. Hell, I remember watching him play at Florida State during the the College World Series. Maybe it's just because in the last 3 or 4 years, he hasn't been Buster Posey. Mm. And
kind of fell off. Injuries, and same thing can be said for a guy like Joe Mauer. I mean, he kind of fell off with the injuries,
and really Joe Mauer hasn't been Joe Mauer since he moved to first. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it would seem to be an easier an easier thing to do, play first, than it is catching, because you don't have to worry about
Yeah,
the
but I
pitching
think
staff
by the
and
time
stuff
that they
like
made the move
It was too
to
late.
him, I think it was too late. He'd already suffered from quite a few injuries.
They had Morneau there for years until he had problems with concussions and everything else too. But you look at a player like Posey, and this is where the discussion started. Christian said that he would take Molina over Buster Posey, and I would agree. I would put Yadi Molina before Buster Posey on this list. Now, is Buster Posey a better hitter? Mm-hmm. Sure. Are both of them good game callers? Yeah. But
nobody's as good as
Yadi. No. And it's not like Yadi can't hit.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to hit you 250 to 270, which for a catcher is not that bad.
No, and the thing with Yadi is he's clutch.
Yeah.
When there's big moments, that's when he seems to have the big hit or the go ahead hit at late in ball games. He's a clutch hitter.
That was like Jason Varitek. Probably one of the greatest game callers in the history of the game, but batted 210, 215. But again, when you needed that knock, that little baby knock to get something started or something late in the game, that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, he struck out every other time, but he was situational hitter. Let's put it that way. And I think that's ultimately one of the things that's going to hold him back from being in the Hall of Fame or being in sooner rather than later, because he couldn't hit.
Mm-hmm.
So now Miggy, I'm cool with.
Yeah, I'm good with that one. The only other one I could throw in there would be Votto.
Yeah,
Votto would be one right there. As far as Miggy hitting for the Triple Crown, and the MVP awards.
Mm-hmm.
I think Votto does have one MVP.
Yes,
but
never. Maybe a batting title. Maybe.
Yeah. And just never. And the thing with Votto that kind of holds Votto back is the power numbers, and he never played it for a real competitive
Reds team.
Yeah. So that kind of holds him back a little bit. But as far as the numbers go, very, very comparable.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is, I'm pretty sure if you say Mike Trout doesn't deserve on this list, you need to go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Mike Trout's been the best player since he stepped on the field his rookie year. Mm-hmm. So go fuck yourself if you think Mike Trout doesn't. That's the first dude to think of.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's the best player in baseball.
Yeah.
There's no arguing it.
And Beltre, Hall of Famer, hands down.
Yes.
Hands down.
Now you look at, kind of the up-and-coming third baseman but you can only really talk about him for the last 5-6 seasons in Arenado.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the next, third baseman on the list.
Or if Machado happens to end up at third, or there's a lot of good players that are playing that left side of the infield. Mm-hmm. That for many years I think we're going to be spoiled actually to have that many good ones. Mookie Betts, sure. McCutchen, early 2010, 2012, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And then he just took a shit.
Mm-hmm.
He cut his hair and took a shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only dude. But I'm thinking about who I would replace him with. That's
kind of the thing too. Obviously there's some guys that are up and coming, but they just haven't played as long. I look up towards the top of the list at the second baseman and Altuve. Yeah, there's no second baseman I'd rather have than him right now. As far as for the entire decade, it's hard to forget about Robinson Cano.
Yeah.
From 2010 to 2020. I'm probably taking Cano. Now, if we go 2015 to 2025, probably Altuve. Then that's kind of the time that when Cano left the Yankees, it kind of went downhill from there. The injuries started up. He had one good season in Seattle, but then the injuries started to take the toll on him. But man, I think he kind of got lost in the mix with the Yankees, and people forget about him a little bit when.
That's because he went out west to die.
Yeah.
That's I think Mike Trout is making it cool to play on the West Coast again. Mm. That and San Diego is an up and coming fucking team, and I'm sure we're gonna dive into this when it gets closer to baseball season. But wow,
shortstop position. Lindor's. I can't really talk about him for the past decade. I mean, he's kind of the same in the same boat. Is there a shortstop in the game that I would take over him? Probably not. Not right now. But as far as over the last decade, as far as the shortstop's always been kind of known for defense, and not so much getting it done at the plate. Simmons.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the best defensive shortstop in this past decade that I've seen. Is Lindor the best right now in 2019 going into the 2020 season? Yeah. But over the past decade, I'm rolling with Simmons.
And again, that's another position that, like I said, the whole left side that we are. I mean, you got Carlos Correa, Javi Baez. I mean, we could go on and on and on. It seems like every team has a clutch stud, either shortstop or third baseman.
And that's kind of been that's the new thing now, because back in 2010 when this would have started, the shortstop position was known for defense, and that's kind of what it's been known for, forever. You're not asking if you had a shortstop that could play above average defense and then bat over 280 for you and hit 25 to 30 home runs.
There was one in the league.
Yeah, those were far and few between. So
that was A-Rod before he moved to third. Even Jeter did it. Even though Jeter wasn't a very great defensive shortstop, he was above average. But he was great at the plate. I think I'd be shocked if anyone during his time went opposite field more often and just could do it on any pitch, which I hate to say it, but that's what made Jeter so successful. Yep. When you get that much more time to look at the ball, you don't strike out as much. You're in more control. But no, yeah, there's all of these and their kids coming up that I think that's going to be more and more like that's the in thing to do for kids, is to be a 6'3", 6'4" shortstop with a cannon, and then you can rake 290 with 35 bombs and 100 RBIs in a lineup that has 4 other guys that do that exact same thing. Yep. But yeah, I don't think you can argue with the pitching staff. I mean, ever since Rivera retired, I mean, Kimbrel kind of picked right up with where he left off, and once the Reds stopped dicking around with Chapman and put him in the bullpen instead of trying to make him a starter, that he's been gold. But still, we don't see that. It seems like closers these days are a lot more vulnerable, and they don't have the lockdown numbers that they did 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Maybe it's because we were spoiled watching Mariano Rivera do his thing with one fucking pitch. That Edgar Martinez and Luis Gonzalez are the only ones on the planet that know how to hit the motherfucker. But hey, I think everything else, like I said, I'm not super sold on McCutchen, but I can't think of a player to replace him.
Yeah.
So maybe, but then again, like you're saying with some of these players, they've only been in the league for 5 years. So McCutchen would have been from the more 2010, 2011, the Pittsburgh version where he's winning MVPs, and with the dreads, and he was the face of Pittsburgh for a long, long time. So maybe I'm just being a dickhead with this one. I don't know, but which what, it wouldn't be the first time in my life I've been called an asshole or a dickhead, or probably the last time. So probably today. So let's do some paycheck and onions. What do you say? What do you say? All I can say is fuck this game. Fuck this game. 3rd week in a row losing a paycheck game. I hate the Big Ten and their stupid basketball schedule.
Yeah, you can't pick and you can't throw a paycheck on any game in the Big Ten.
No, this is bullshit.
You can't do it.
This is bullshit. So yeah, I'm sitting at 42 fucking points because I've lost 9 points in the last 3 weeks. And had not lost those 9 points, I would be ahead of you because I wouldn't have lost 9 and had 3 more points. So it's a 12-point fucking swing.
Yeah, and I'm at 50.
Eat my ass. So what's your first pick 'em there, 2Ks?
First pick I'm going with, I don't even know the name of the bowl game. I don't think the name of the bowl game is really all that important because I don't think anybody really cares about these teams.
We can just make up a bowl game.
Yeah. I don't really care about either one of these teams, but I do have a lot of hate for one of them, and that's Michigan State. Oh. And I'm picking Wake Forest over Michigan State.
That is the New Era Pinstripe Bowl.
Oh, yeah, that is the one. That's the one that they're playing at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm looking up one of the Mine, just to kind of give you, I'm not going to throw a big shocker in here. All of mine are bowl games. Okay. My first one, I'm looking at USC at Iowa. And that is my favorite bowl of them all, the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl.
There we go. That's a big one.
Yeah. And Iowa's a 2-point favorite, and I am taking Iowa. And what is your second pick'em, sir?
Second pick'em, I'm going NFL. This could be a pretty big game as far as for division, kind of depending on how things play out this week. But I'm picking the Titans over the Texans.
It's odd that they played within 3 weeks. They played twice.
Yeah.
You would think they would spread that out a little more.
And watching that game last week between them, it was a really good game, back and forth. The Texans ended up winning it, but I don't know. I guess since the Titans made the change from Mariota to Tannehill, I've kind of I've enjoyed watching them, and obviously I own Derrick Henry in a lot of my fantasy leagues, so I've been watching a lot of Titans football, but no, Tannehill's kind of been a breath of fresh air for them.
It's a breath of fresh air for his career. Mm-hmm. So I mean, had this never happened, he would have went down as a fucking bust that went to Miami. Yep. Speaking of Miami, this is something I didn't bring up with Drew Brees. Miami offered him a contract, but yet pulled it because of, I want to say, his shoulder was hurt when he was in San Diego. Mm-hmm. They made an offer and rescinded it because of some medical records. Yeah, you fucked that one up.
Yeah.
But then again, getting back to your point with the coach, had he never come in contact with Sean Payton, he still would have been a great quarterback because he was a great quarterback in San Diego. Yep. I don't think we would be having this discussion about top 5. He might end up being in the top 20. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was one thing that I did want to bring up. So yes, Miami, you were fucking things up years ago. Even before you drafted Tannehill, which we all could have told you that was a mistake in the first round. But it seemed like that year there was all right, well, there's a lot of teams that needed quarterbacks, and once the first one got off the board, everyone was scrambling to get one, not get one that they wanted, but to just get one. Mm-hmm. Well, my second pick, I'm going big dog here. The PlayStation, God, words are fucking hard. PlayStation, there we go. Fiesta Bowl. This is one of the playoff games, Clemson and Ohio State. I'm taking Ohio State on this one. Taking Ohio State, even though Clemson, I want to say, is a 2-point favorite, 3-point favorite, somewhere in there. And I 2.5. And I know that you and I have sung the praises of Dabo and this team all year, and we were also one of the ones that were questioning that very close game in North Carolina. But what it comes down to me, you could take one or two ways. You could take it that Clemson really hasn't played anybody. And yes, they're hitting their stride at the right time and they're gaining momentum and all this other bullshit. But they haven't been tested. North Carolina is the only quote-unquote test that they had. Ohio State's been tested all year. The Big Ten, they've beaten everyone else beaten ass in the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. But they've had more games, including the Wisconsin game for the Big Ten title, where they had to come back from a very big deficit to win. I think that gives the Buckeyes the edge for this game, is because they're battle tested, because they've went through it. But you could take the other approach and say that, well, they've gotten the shit beat out of them. They're tired. They've had some players dinged up. Whereas Clemson is, like I said, they haven't even been in fifth gear yet. Mm-hmm. And maybe, you're kind of hanging your hat that they will find that extra gear, mm-hmm. and hoping that an Ohio State team is worn out. Mm-hmm. I'm taking my approach to it to be like, they're battle tested. They know how to win. They obviously know how to come back in a big game. So that's the reason I'm going Ohio State in here. I don't give a fuck about the spread. The spread on this one, you can kiss my ass. Mm-hmm. I think this will be like a 27-21 game, not a very high scoring game, because those are probably the two best defenses left in the playoffs. Oklahoma doesn't have one.
No.
And
Either does LSU.
I'm gonna say LSU has a very porous one, but it's better than Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So yeah, this side here, is you're gonna see a very more closely contested game. But on the other hand, Justin Fields and the boys can blow this to a 40-point game really quick. So, but like I said, Clemson with their scoring defense is cool, but you haven't fucking played anybody.
Yeah.
You haven't played anybody.
Yep.
So what's your next pick 'em, sir?
I'm going the same game.
Same game?
And making the same pick. I'm going Ohio State. Yeah, kind of the same thing you said. The schedule that they played, some of the teams that they've played, and they beat them,
Handily.
Yeah. So, and then they were tested against Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship.
Which I
kind
don't
of
think
thought at halftime that there was a chance that Wisconsin was going to walk out there the winners of it. But they came out in the second half a total different team. It was kind of the same Ohio State team that we watched all season long, dominated the second half. To me, this is the biggest game. I mean, as far as obviously until you get to the championship game.
Yeah.
All season long, though, I've been saying I want to see Ohio State and LSU in the championship.
I think we're gonna get it,
and I hope that that's what we get. Yeah. I'm picking Ohio State.
I think that's what we're gonna get is an Ohio State LSU showdown, which is what I think everybody
I just want a championship that doesn't have Sweeney or Saban involved.
Well, we can check one of those boxes,
yes.
And I would much rather see a Dabo Sweeney team win again 10 more times before I see a Nick Saban team win again.
Absolutely.
Well, my last pick, I'm going again. I'm going with the New Era Pinstripe Bowl, but I'm actually picking Sparty on this one.
Yeah, fuck them.
So picking Sparty, they're a 3.5-point favorite. Like I said, with the bowl games, these fucking spreads don't mean anything because there's only 4 teams that are really fucking stoked to be playing a bowl game right now. And those are the Final Four. The rest of them, I mean, hell, we're watching the New Mexico Bowl in Albuquerque. I mean, it's Central Michigan against San Diego State. I'm pretty sure I picked this one last week. I said, let's go Chips. But
Fire up Chips,
yeah. But with these big schools, how stoked take for instance the Alabama-Michigan game. There's probably going to be a handful of Alabama kids that aren't going to play because there's probably going to be 11 of them drafted in the first round. So the spreads really mean nothing. It's basic. Obviously I'm sure the competitor in you wants to win every fucking game, and you're on the especially, well, most Michigan and Alabama games are nationally televised anyway. But take the Central Michigan San Diego State. How many times has either one of these teams been on ESPN? Mm-hmm. One, maybe. Mm-hmm. Maybe ESPN 3 or one of the. I'm pretty sure. You get what I'm saying. They don't have a lot of exposure. Yeah. So for that, I'm sure those players are fucking stoked. If I was on that team, I would be. Mm-hmm. I mean, granted, the Central Michigan kids go from Michigan to New Mexico. The weather looks great there. Yeah. San Diego, I mean, you have the best weather ever, so it's probably a detriment for them to go to New Mexico. But yeah, these point spreads don't mean shit, and it's just going to be whichever team shows up is not flat. The benefit to everything is you get the extra 2 or 3 weeks of practice in, where if you weren't bowl eligible, you don't get that time to practice. So. Did we do all your pick'ems there?
Yep.
All right. What is your paycheck game?
Paycheck game, I'm going. I'm sure you know the name of this bowl game, because it's your boys from Notre Dame. I'm picking Notre Dame over Iowa State. This to me is it doesn't even really make any sense. I thought Notre Dame was a pretty decent team.
The Camping World Bowl.
Yeah, sure. But Iowa State, like, how'd that even happen? It just, to me, Notre Dame to be playing in a bowl game.
10-2 team against a 7-5 team?
Yes. And
I don't get that.
That's what it is for me, and I've heard a lot of.
What would have really been cool if they would have played Michigan again somewhere?
Yeah, that would have been. I would have been good with that.
That might have been one of the highest ranking bowls as far as watch time.
Yeah, and
no one's watching this bullshit.
No, and there was a lot of people though that, especially Notre Dame fans, that were tearing into Michigan like, oh yeah, you guys are gonna get ran by Alabama. Yeah, we probably are, but I'd rather go play against Alabama and get ran by them.
And play Iowa State.
Play in the fucking camping bowl with Iowa State. And I'm sure that I'm putting my paycheck on it, so I think that Notre Dame's going to just run all over them, which they should.
Yeah, and again, to bring up the spread, Notre Dame's a 4-point favorite, which I'm shocked at that number. Come the fuck on. That should be like a 15 or 20 point spread. Get the fuck out of here. My paycheck game, I'm going big. Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
Ooh.
Oklahoma, LSU. And I think LSU wins this by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, hard to argue that.
I think this is going to be
it could look like a basketball score
51-35 score.
It could look like a basketball score at the end.
Oh, yeah. Especially a Big Ten basketball score where it seems like the winning team has 50 points. Yeah. Yeah, that to me, I think Joe Burrow has showed enough to where he is the best quarterback. And aside from Chase Young, the best player in the country. And it's not going to stop. I mean, for everything that Jalen Hurts has done, it's fucking amazing. And, you know, getting back to your point of winning big games, you know, we talked about the quarterback winning Super Bowl with 2 different teams. I think Jalen Hurts has been in 3 of the last 4 college football playoffs. I think he's only lost 4 games his whole career. And to do it in 2 very different systems. 2 very different systems, and be very. I mean, he was invited to New York to be a Heisman finalist. He's legit. He really is, and I think you saw the maturity of him instead of just sitting and pouting while Tua's taking over his team. He worked to perfect his craft, and I think that we all gave him shit about how he's a inaccurate passer. And granted, when you go to the Big Ten without defenses, where you were throwing against SEC defenses, which are basically NFL level defenses. Windows are a little bit tighter in the SEC. The coverage is a little bit better. The athletes are a little bit better than the Big 12. But to do what he did is fucking phenomenal. And I'm a fan. I'm gonna be curious to see where he goes in the draft. But I think above and beyond, Joe Burrow is the reason LSU wins this game. Joe Burrow and his 9,000, all first team, all conference fucking receivers. So did we do your paycheck?
Yep, yeah, that was Notre Dame game.
What is your Onions pick?
Onions pick, I'm going with the home state team in Eastern Michigan, and I'm picking them in the Quick Lane Bowl.
Okay.
To take out Pitt.
Take out Pitt, all right.
The only reason I'm picking against him, Pitt's head coach is Narduzzi. Used to be a defensive coordinator at Michigan State. You know how I feel about Michigan State.
Oh, you mean when Michigan State was good? Well, my Onions pick, I'm going I can't make this one up, the Academy Sports and Outdoor Texas Bowl.
Ooh, that had to be a good one.
First of all, if the game is as good as the actual name, I think we're pretty legit. And I didn't even circle one. Oh, I'm taking Oklahoma State over Texas A&M. A&M's favored by 7. Now, before we get... I do want to share some of these. Since we're making fun of bowl games. I posted in the 2K crew, I think it was. Yes, create your own bowl game. Last place you shopped, plus the last thing you ate. And then add the word bowl. So I posted... Damn, we did have a lot of people comment on that. I posted the Dollar General Nachos Bowl. Nick Berry says Casey's Pizza Bowl. Jim Harvey, Rhodey's Gift Shop Pizza Bowl. Larry says Big Lots Bourbon Bowl. That's like, that actually sounds like a legit bowl. Darcy says Dollar General McDonald's Bowl. Bill Johnson, Bigby Coffee Twizzlers Bowl. Our own Jay Stone, Drop Anchor Budweiser Bowl. Sounds legit. Amy Bainbridge Sides, Harding's Wine Bowl. My brother Josh, Little Caesars Pizza Bowl. It's like, I think that was one at one point. And he says probably before they spent all their money on the $5 Hot and Ready Stadium. Erica says Dollar General Popcorn Bowl and our own Coney Braisman Dunham's Venison Snack Stick Bowl, which his might sound the most awesome out of all of them.
If I was to make mine today, it would be the Amazon Bacon and Eggs Bowl.
I love it. I love it. JT says Menard's Sriracha Bowl. Mike Eby says Mr. C's Party Store Nacho Bowl. Greg Shelton Dollar General Pancakes Bowl and Jacob Tone Bullseye Donut Bowl.
Oh, that's a hell of a bowl right there.
Yes, because I mean, any time you go to Bullseye, you're getting something good.
Yeah,
man.
and their donuts are fucking to die for.
I found we went there before Thanksgiving to pick up a couple pies, and they right when you walk in, they had some pies and some other shit, and I just thought they were oatmeal cookies. No, these are homemade oatmeal cream pies that are probably 5 inches in diameter and a good 3 inches thick. Each one of them probably around 2,000 calories, but fuck, they were good. After I ate all 6, well, I gave Kristen one, so I ate 5 of them, probably within 2 days. So I'm surprised. A, I didn't turn into a diabetic, and B, I didn't just pass out from a sugar high. But I had to do this. I had to go buy a regular Little Debbie.
Oh,
These things shit all over Little Debbie. First of all, Little Debbie's are like a 1/4 inch now by 2.5 inches.
Uh-huh.
Get the fuck out of here with that.
That's like one bite.
Yeah. You like fold it like a pizza and bite it. But then, to be honest with you, for 6 of them, I think was $7.99.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like they were super expensive. But every time I go there, I'm actively searching. It is on my fucking radar. Ding, 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 ding. All right. So is there anything cool coming up on the old holiday meter there, 2Ks?
No, just typical Christmas stuff. Family get-togethers.
Do you guys do anything special?
No. I mean, we try to. Well, both of us have pretty big families, so we try to see everybody. And normally we get my dad's side taken care of on Christmas Eve, and then my mom's side Christmas morning, and then all Chell's family get together for all Christmas night. So I mean, it's a good time. Definitely get a lot of drinking in.
Oh yeah.
Eat some really good food. That's what I'm looking forward to. Is all the food. And,
God damn, I'm dying over here.
But no, this has been one of the better, as far as Christmas shopping years that I think Chell and I have ever had. I mean, we basically probably knocked out 85-90% of what we needed to get for our kids on Amazon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as good as it gets when they just bring it right to the house for you, and you don't even have to deal with hitting up Westnedge at this time of the year is an absolute joke.
Now, what I'm curious is because I did the same thing. I did a lot of the vast majority of my shopping on Amazon as well. Now, with kids, you for those of you who don't know, you have 2 girls and a boy, and what I'm curious is when they start picking up on why is these things coming to the house, and what excuses or how you guys start playing it off once they kind of start putting 2 and 2 together. And I'm judging by your 2 girls, those 2 girls are not too far away from actually figuring this shit out.
Yeah, we're running out of time as far as they're going to be figuring things out here probably in the next year or 2.
Yeah.
Right now, London being 7 and Nora being 5, we hide a lot of stuff up in the top shelves of the closet and everything, and keep everything in the boxes. And normally we have somebody, trying to cut things off, being delivered to the house before the girls get off the bus and getting home from school. So we've been pretty good about that. Now there are a few that slip through. Luckily, Nolan only being 2, he doesn't understand what's going on. So
he's probably still at the age if you buy him something in a big box, he plays with the box.
He'll play with exactly. Yeah. I mean, this morning, Chell and I were wrapping all the presents up because the girls are with my mom today. So we woke up this morning at like 8:00, started wrapping. Well, we had Nolan. Well, he's in all the boxes, popping the bubble wrap, and that was. I mean, it was like Christmas morning for him with all this bubble wrap. But and then he started getting into the wrapping paper and all that. So by the time we already just gave him a couple of the things that we got him for that were supposed to wait until Christmas, but we just gave it to him just to try to keep him sidetracked.
Well, awesome, and I did want to give because let's see, Tuesday's Christmas Eve, right?
Yep.
So this will be coming out Christmas Eve morning, and So while you're sitting around wrapping your last presents or doing whatever you need to do to button up on Christmas Eve, throw us on. We'll entertain you. And Christmas morning, while you guys are sitting around after lunch, go on the YouTubes because our video will be out on Wednesday at 2:30 or 1:30. 1:30, sorry. So you can keep Turbo and 2Ks around all holidays, and we'll entertain you. We'll get you through it. And hell, if you're stuck in traffic New Year or Christmas Eve, put us on. We can entertain you while you're sitting in a virtual parking lot on fucking Westnedge, choosing not to Amazon it out like Kyle and I did. So with that being said, 2K crew, have a great holiday. We love all you guys. Have a great week. Don't eat too much, but eat just enough. Have some drinks with your friends and family. And we love you. Happy holidays. And we'll catch you on the next one. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you. Well, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. And if you want to check out any more of our videos, click up here. And don't forget to subscribe down here.